Welcome back to the Board Pod, everybody. We are on episode 9, and I love these moments in culture where it just kind of captures the nation or the whole
world.
The world. Yeah, we had the Super Bowl happen over the weekend, and I feel like it just kind of came and delivered. So it would be cool to be able to jump in. We're keen to give you what our thoughts were behind some of the advertisements, and yeah, it's a blast for marketers. This is like our grand final.
That Christmas.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome to see how creative brands can get, and we're excited to talk through it.
Yeah, I think we went through and watched pretty much all of the Super Bowl ads. And so for us, it's like watching great work happen from people in our industry. And so we want to go through the ones that we think really nailed the brief. And I think maybe we can give our framing of how we kind of assess these ads and what we're looking for. And yeah, we're going to go through which ones we think are the winners. And then maybe I've got a few that I was like, whoa, what happened there? Something missed the mark, and it's only minor things. So let's get into it. Yeah. What was your favorite this year?
I'm going to ask you first. Well, I guess the bonus that we're husband and wife, we do share and chat a lot about our ideas. We had the same favorite, didn't we?
We did.
Yes. And it was the Poppy commercial. I guess Poppy is like a probiotic soda.
I think it's just a low sugar. I'm not sure exactly what they sell, but they sell some sort of like fizzy drink, soda, soft drink solution. And why'd you love it, Von?
I think it really hit the pain point that we all experience when we're just needing a refreshment and we're needing just like that permission to be able to open up a poppy or open up a soda drink that's full of color and life to like help us be in a better mood, if that makes sense. Like they really hit that string of, oh, should I have it? Should I not? It's like, no, like stop. What they say? Stop spiraling, have a poppy. Like just have a bit of fun with your life. And I think the way that they were able to deliver that, and also they incorporated a lot of very relevant rock star influencers, or I should say like just leaders in that space, which then really made the whole thing really exciting to see. You were like really excited when they were on the screen. And I think even if they weren't in it, I think I still would have had it as my favorite ad, which is really showing something about the type of concept that was delivered as well.
Yeah, so I had no idea who anyone was in the ad. When you're like, oh, look, it's Alex Earl. I'm like, who's that?
Yeah,
it's like,
Alex Earl's Jake Shane. And
I had no idea who they were, but I had the same ad as my favorite. And the reason was, when you're creating content for your consumer, you want it to be entertaining, which it was, but you want to hit the one objection and pick an objection that is very strong and show why your product or service relieves that. If you can do both of those things really well, it just really works to change behavior. And so I think the Poppy ad really hit on that. Oh, I'm going to have a drink. Oh, should I get a mineral water? It's kind of bland. Oh, the other person's getting a shake. And it's like, it's not that refreshing feeling. Like you finish mowing the lawn and it's like, what's that drink you have?
Yes.
And so that was and then it was, but it's like 5 grams of sugar. So it still tastes sweet. It's still okay. And it's refreshing. So you can get that satisfaction quenching the thirst without feeling like you're sacrificing your health, which is what we all do. When we would drink soft drink all day, every day, if it was healthy. And so that's
like, what do we? Imagine the world.
Everyone loves the taste, but everyone thinks, okay, it's not worth the health sacrifices. Yeah. And so they just nailed that for like 40 seconds and just smashed it. And I was like, wow, I just want to drink that.
Me too. I want it beside my desk every day. It kind of like had such a strong association to you being able to be in a better state, which is incredible. If you can alter someone's state through advertising, you know that you've delivered an extraordinary ad, because that's what storytelling and what emotional, I guess, like engagement is all about. Like the moment that you can emotionally hook someone from an engagement point of view, you have them 100%. Like I'm so excited to hopefully see Poppy now in Australia. Like what? 40 seconds of an ad. That's crazy altered state behavior. So yeah, go Poppy. That's our number one.
Yeah, I think some honorable mentions. I think T-Mobile and Starlink did a really good job of making an offer to people in the audience that is nearly irrefusable,
Yes.
which was,
Well, yeah, talk it through.
I think from all of the ads that were there was very few that had a strong call to action that was almost like this is a no-brainer. And I think making a no-brainer offer is very powerful to get people to drive action. Like we were talking about association and brand. They were able to just be like, hey, have free Starlink on any device. So you don't need to go and get a new device on your mobile in the US for the next 4 months, which is just such a powerful offer. It's like, wow, why would I not get unlimited coverage as long as I can see the sky? I have mobile network coverage. And for the US, it's very different to Australia, where in Australia, if you're with Telstra, you get coverage everywhere. You go to the US, it's like you go from California to New York, and your provider just like doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's like different states have different coverage or all separated networks, whereas here, we're so used to just having pretty good coverage everywhere, whether you're with Optus or Telstra or Vodafone, like they're all using the same networks. The US is so segmented. And we found this.
So it's in Canada.
Yeah, Canada, we had the same issue where we were like, we went from Vancouver to Alberta and you lose your mobile reception. Anyway, I'm taking a big tangent, but the offer was so strong. And I think that's a really interesting offer that I think a lot of the other brands missed the opportunity to really do. Like, what is that offer? Another honorable mention was the Mountain Dew Seal ad.
Yes, that one was so funny. I love that one. If anyone knows the artist, like the musician Seal, they very much played into the fact that Seal could become, in fact, a seal. And it was the most random ad. But it did create a likability towards Mountain Dew that I feel like I hadn't had for a long time. So I think, yeah, making something so outrageous. And they even called it out in the ad being like, this is the weirdest thing that I've ever seen. And I'm like, yes, it is. And it just, I don't know, reinforced like a friendship with Mountain Dew.
Yeah, the creatives did a really good job of playing into the consumer, like almost being alongside them. It's like, yeah, we're on the same journey together here. This is crazy.
Yeah, I really liked that aspect.
So that was cool. I have one that I think just like completely missed the mark.
Okay.
And so
Which one's that?
all of these ads were running in between plays and throughout the day or released beforehand. The halftime show happens. Kendrick comes out and plays a bunch of absolute bangers. The whole world is watching that show. And then at the end of the show, it cuts to 20 seconds of the Apple Music logo and says, brought to you by Apple Music. And then just sits on the logo for 20 seconds. And I'm like, Apple, this is the moment you could have drawn that feeling through, and they just missed the mark. And they paid top dollar to get everything. Everyone's associating the halftime performance with Kendrick, not with Apple. But they could have nailed that moment, and they just could have left it on the table. It's like they got 70% of the way through and just forgot to cross the I's and dot the T's. And I think that was the biggest miss from an advertising and influence perspective for a brand. And it is kind of reminiscent of how I feel about the way Apple's going. It's like they just can't seem to get it right. And I think that was just a massive miss from a marketing opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, you have such a prime slot. I feel like brands would have killed to have had that moment. And it's a shame. Glad they got their logo, but probably not in the best way.
Yeah, let's talk about Super Bowl as a cultural moment, though, from an advertising perspective, and like why we as marketers look at that as the grand final. Like, what do you take away from it?
Oh, I mean, the Super Bowl has been renowned for delivering endless amounts of hype. There's so much camaraderie in the United States when it comes to sport, when it comes to that particular industry. And I think it brings about celebrities, it brings about advertising, it brings about money and high energy. And, you know, there's a lot of different things that make up the success of why the Super Bowl has so much. But I love the thought that they've made ads into different cultural moments, because that's what ads should do. And so I love that it's almost been I don't know, maybe it's just in the advertising industry we like to look at it, but I do think...
Oh, no, the whole world watches the ads.
Yeah, of course. But it's good to see that the advertising gets to kind of like reach out and touch the customer in like a whole other way, that like you want to have the eyeballs at that time, which I think is unique. It's not like we all sit on the edge of our TV each day waiting for what ads are going to play. So I really like the shift that it plays and gives us the attention.
Yeah, I think that's because the ads outside of the Super Bowl suck. It's
It's a great read on how we could, as marketers, make better ads.
I think we get pushed into the performance, buy my stuff advertising approach, which understand drives short-term results, but no one remembers them. Like you might get a sugar hit, but it's a good, like they play into the cultural moment, people invest heavily. But I think of it in social every day, like the brands that do it well and like tell stories. And Jacob shared with us a restaurant in Melbourne, and they're using a film script writer to write scripts about their restaurants and almost play the restaurant as part of a story. And I thought that was like an example of taking the Super Bowl concept of telling stories and shifting behavior and connecting with customers down into a social activation that happens every week. And it's like, wow, that kind of advertising is way more effective. And so it comes back to that creative strategy and creative execution. It doesn't just need to be in Super Bowl ads. I think there's that bringing creative strategy and creative execution storytelling into social rather than just a graphic that says, buy my product 10, 15% off. Here's what it does, like change the behavior with video.
Yeah, it's exciting to see. I wanted to quickly give an honorable mention to the Pringles ad as well, because I had Adam Brody, who plays Seth Cohen in the OC, and I think he did a fantastic job starting off the advertisement and then it leading into the follow of the mustache, which is an amazing way to bring Pringles to life through its almost, I don't know what you'd call it. It's not its logo. Maybe it is. It's like the prominent part of its caricature or its logo, following mustaches around. I don't know. I felt like they did an incredible job. So quick mention to those ones too.
It reminded me of like the McDonald's ads where they really embellished the golden arches.
Yeah.
It was like Pringles' moment to embellish the mustache.
So true.
So if you think about Pringles before this conversation, you probably didn't remember that it has a mustache on it.
No, I didn't. And then now I do.
Now it's just so prominent. It's a really big brand builder for the logo. So that when you're walking through the supermarket, it's that
mustache and that affiliation to
and the tube. Yeah, anyway, very, very good. Go and watch this. We'll list all those episodes the ads that we really like. Ads. Maybe Jacob can cut in a few of the images into the podcast. We'll see. Awesome. Super Bowl's over now, and we're back into a new year. Yeah. We're now in February. What are the things that are kind of capturing your mind around mindset coming into the new year? You've just come back from a couple of days at a conference. Like maybe talk to us where you're at with mindset and some things that are going through your mind.
It was huge. So I went to the One Life conference last week, which is hosted by Emil and Simon Beard, and of course, like an incredible team backing and behind them. It was an extraordinary event because it led you just really critically think not just about, say, the fundamentals of what you do every day, but it's like who you show up as every day. And I think it really gave and instilled a lot of, I guess, just different foundations that we can really use and know that as entrepreneurs, we're in the right direction. I think that when it comes to mindset, however, and it's something where I'm really thankful that it's getting a great voice, and it's all about your ability to use your energy and using it for a really great direction and purpose. And so what I mean by that is instead of being in like a high energy, negative emotion state, which is kind of like your fear and scared and angry and livid and like being aware when you're in that quadrant. This is a concept, I guess, derived out of Simon Beard's talk. That mindset is super easy to just get yourself into, but channeling it and kind of anchoring different ways to get back to a better state is so important. So for example, if you're, say, scared, Simon made a really funny comment that like for a guy to be like, oh yeah, I'm scared instead of stressed, it's like if you're stressed, call yourself scared instead, because the first thing that a guy will typically do is be like, I'm not scared. What do you mean I'm not scared? And then go back into the left-hand side. It was like a funny way to anchor yourself from negative to positive. But I'm a huge believer in this. This is something where I have like in my calendar, like 4 times a day, different like state checks, which basically just goes off on my phone, and it will just basically give me the reminder to have the awareness to check what kind of state am I in. Am I in like a high energy positive state, a low energy positive state, or am I on the other side, which is the negative emotion, high energy, or negative emotion, low energy? So it was really encouraging to be able to be reminded what those big emotions are. And he was, yeah, also gave some really great advice around anchoring it to songs, those high energy positive emotions, or what kind of gets you from a daily habits, triggers, rituals that gets you into that high energy, high emotion state. Because I feel like with that and using that energy, you can drive a lot of great outcomes versus the other ones where you're kind of not being at your fullest self, if that makes sense.
And what are those things? So you mentioned you've got these checks and state checks throughout the day.
Yeah.
What are you doing in those moments when you see that?
Well, it's a awesome opportunity to be reflective. So I'll kind of go, okay, where do I think I'm sitting right now? And that I'll start with myself, because obviously that definitely has a blast radius. So I'll go, okay, I'm feeling present, or I'm feeling happy, or I'm feeling determined, or oh, okay, I'm feeling angry, whatever it is, we're all human. And then from there, I kind of go, okay, well, what's happening around me then? Like, is there an environmental change? Is there people around me that are also like, I'll kind of under the keyboard have a sense check of where I feel like everyone else is as well, if I'm around people for the day, to kind of think about different ways that we can all come back to positive things like humor. It's like a low energy positive state, but you could use different things to kind of shift people across and help guide the energy back.
Yeah, and so when you mentioned a word in there, blast radius, what does that mean?
It just means that if, say, I'm in a negative state, that can also have ripple effects and impacts, because when you're in a role of leadership, people do look to you to be able to be someone that sets the tone and sets kind of the standard of how we approach our emotions in business. And so if I'm not going well, like, how can I then expect the team to go well as well? It kind of has a bigger ripple effect with a heavier blast radius.
Yeah, cool. And your blast radius gets bigger the more senior you get, because you say something and it ripples.
It can, yeah. So it's awesome, but it also needs to be kind of like in Peter Parker, with great power comes great responsibility. And so I think you have to be very responsible for your emotional state and for your emotional regulation. And it's something where, like, we're all human. It is normal to experience a low energy, low mood. Like, we can't be in, or maybe, and there was a guy that was at the podcast, not at the podcast, at the conference, that was seriously off the charts on the top left of the determined, passionate, excited. His default was boom, boom, boom. I reckon he is like that 24/7. Like, he was incredible. But it's a great reminder that, like, you don't have to choose to be in the low energy states or the high negative. You can make the choice to put yourself over there. You just have to have the different kind of like tools in mind to be able to get you there. So think about what songs make you determined and make you excited and passionate, or what are the things that if you do X, Y, Z, like a workout in the morning, or you put on what could be something like a particular outfit, like whatever it takes to get you into that top left, you can then position yourself to be able to achieve greatness and inspire those around you at such a greater mile. Yeah, I'm really happy I went through that conference. I'd heard the message before, but I think it was really cemented to actually implement that as an action step in my everyday life. So these state checks are really great. And looking forward to then also empowering the team and also bringing people along that training of how important this is. Because I think just being able to teach someone this emotional awareness can then have a really great impact into who they become personally and professionally long term.
Yeah, and when you told me this, it made me think, okay, what are the habits and things that we say to ourselves that put us in these states?
Yeah.
And maybe you can talk about like the power of your words, because I think you're really big on this, and I think you've taught me a lot.
Yeah.
So what's your mental model that you use to think about the words that you tell yourself and the conversations you have with yourself to some extent?
Totally. I mean, I think that what's great is that we all get an opportunity to be able to posture our thoughts before we say them out loud, because thoughts come through all the time, but it's about when you have a thought that you want to be able to give to the world, that you have an opportunity to posture that for good or posture that for bad. And so with that responsibility, once again, it can be incredible if you can channel your words, because your words become your reality as well. You have to be very careful, because I feel like the mind can't really discern what you're saying as like an exaggeration or what actually becomes real in your head. And so that's also really cool too. It's all about flipping the coin. So before you go, this is a negative. Is there a song? Flip it to positive. But like think of your opportunity in life to always pick the positive side. And it's funny, like growing up, people would always say to me like, oh, you can't be that happy and you can't be that positive. And I'm like, you can actually. And it's a behavior that you develop over time where you get presented with a piece of information. Someone can see it as a really negative thing, but you have the choice always to then flip it over to the positive. And so I think that's always something that from a mental model I'm constantly doing. So it could be I'm getting a phone call from someone. I could be like, oh, I don't want to take this. Or I could be like, on the other side of this phone call is a huge open door to be able to like enter into their world, help them and help kind of the next kind of 5 people that are in their life. Let's do this. You ultimately have the decision on how you approach things. And it's also, I think you have to be then very careful as to what takes up your energy as well, because that then formulates your mind and your reality too. So I think it's all about doing the introspection and thinking about each day how you can get better and better. I like to do different reflections. So whether if it's, and you'll always hear me say this to you, Sam, I'm like, what are you excited for today? Or what are you grateful for today? Like I start to put in almost unknowingly that high emotion or high energy and low energy positive reflections into the world, because it then just anchors your state of your mind where to focus. I do also love when things aren't going well, but it's an opportunity. Like I think if you could just have those words in your head instead of like, this sucks or whatever, it's like, no, what's the learnings? What's the opportunity? What's the next step? Like you have the choice in your dictionary to pick what you say often. And so you should be picking those words, because then that becomes your reality, drives your energy. Bob's your uncle. I hope that helps.
I'll give you a story that happened yesterday.
Okay.
We'd worked on this pitch for months, and we were really excited about it. We had a great time doing it, regardless of the outcome. And going into the call, we were like, oh, we think we're in for a good shot. I had the call with the prospective client. They came back and said, look, we're going to go with someone else. And at that moment, I had a choice.
Yeah.
Could have been like, oh, that sucks. Oh, we're devastated. And rather than doing that, I stopped and I said, so you're happy with your decision? And she said, yeah, we are. I'm like, that's the best thing that could have happened. And so that could have gone both ways. And she said, whoa. It was like that moment of like, was not expecting that response. But also it meant that we walked away from that experience not dwelling on it. We all jumped in a room and said, oh, there was a bunch of learnings. We all grew a lot through that process of going through their expectations and learning from them and learning with them, that it like wasn't a missed opportunity. It was actually, we all know now that when we show up next time, how to be better. And that is a direct example that happened in the last 24 hours of a decision we made. I could have very easily gone, damn it, that was cost us a bunch of money, a bunch of time, a bunch of resources. We missed out on an opportunity. But that's business.
Yeah.
And if you grabbed everything that went wrong and talked about how bad it was, you'd spend your whole life in the high energy negative or low energy negative space. There's enough things going on that go wrong that you could spend your whole life there.
So true.
And that, I think where you've nailed there is like, you've got to be sleeping well, you've got to be eating well, you've got to be exercising, so you have the tools to be able to push yourself with your words into
it definitely helps.
That high energy positive space that you're referring to.
Life is so exciting. We are so blessed. Like whenever I just look out into the world, I could be looking out at an industrial building, a lamp in this room, a painting behind me. Like what the heck? We're in such an amazing environment. And so I think that with that should also motivate you to just be a part of it, contribute to it, wake up with the energy that we're so blessed with. And so I think if you can start from a gratitude place and then work your way up to what you're passionate about, what you're excited to become, and drive that into your top left, I just think you can do so much with that energy. And now is the best time that you could ever have, being, the youngest that you are today, and also with the information that you have now, with the rise of AI as well. Use that to be able to send you automated reminders, or have it be something that you can use to be able to even be a bit of a therapist for you if you need to find the tools to be able to get you to a better space. I'm not saying they're a therapist, just by the way, but use it as a way to be able to help your reflections.
We need a bingo card for our podcast every time AI comes up. I think we haven't missed an episode yet where it's come up. Bingo card, AI. Nailed it.
Shots next time.
Also, at 8:30 in the morning. Maybe not. Maybe shots of poppy. All right, let's wrap it there. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.